Hello everybody, so today I want to quickly look at something called typecasting or explicit typecasting when you're using VEX, and I hope I can explain this well. It's a little bit confusing to me at times, and it's something which will catch you out and catches me out a lot. And this is where your data types for some reason don't match in your code, and then you have to explicitly say what data type you actually want to use. So let's start by, I think, looking at an example of this. I'm just going to use an add node, and I want to add one. Okay, I'm going to add 4 numbers there. So I've now got 4 points, okay? And let's say that I now want to create a random number using these points. And I will do this by, let me think how to do this. I'll use a float, and I'm going to just call this random attribute. So it's a custom attribute. And this time I want to just use the rand function, which we've used previously. And I'm going to use the ptnum, so which means point number. Okay. And now, as you can see under here, under my geometry spreadsheet, I've got this attribute random, and I've got these numbers here, which are cool. They're all between 0 and 1. Okay, super. But let's say instead, I want to make it where this, in fact, is an integer. So let's do that. In fact, what I'm going to do first of all, I'm going to make these numbers a bit bigger so it will make more sense. So I'm going to times this by 20. Okay, now I've got these numbers here, and I want to, for example, make this 8, 0, 16, and 5. So I want to remove the float. It's a very easy way to do that. In fact, what I can do is I can just create, from this being a float attribute, I'll add I here instead for integer. Remember, we have I for integer, F for float, and V for vector. There's other ones too, but let's just stick with those 3 for now. I'm going to execute that, and I've got my numbers. Great. Okay, so I've got the 8, 0, 16, and 5. But I've also got a warning come up here, like a small error, and I can see here, getting this little green line. What's that about? So let's check it out. It says implicit cast from float to integer. Use explicit cast instead. The problem is here, this number here is a float value because of this random attribute, which gives me a number between 0 and 1, but my output is an integer. So I've got 2 kind of confusing things which are coming through in my code. This part is an integer, this part is a float. And for this to really be happy, I guess, it needs that they both match. And it's a very simple way to do this. All I want to do is tell this part of the code that in fact it's an integer. I want to use this data type as an integer, and all I have to do for that is type in int before it, and I'm going to put all of this in brackets. Here we go, and my error message is gone and my result is still the same. Let's look at another example. This time I'm going to use a cube, and I'm going to add some more. I think I'll add a little bit more, let's add some more resolution to this. That'll do me fine. And this time I'm going to put some random colors on each point. And I will do that by, let me think how to do this first of all. Yeah, I'm going to go with the vector CD, so I'm looking at my colors, and should I use random? In fact, what I'm going to use is a noise. I think I'm going to use a noise function, and I'm going to also use this with the ptnum. Let's see how this works. And there we go, I've got something here, but look, it's given me no colors. I'm actually just getting these vectors are all the same. They're all just giving me one example. And the reason for that is quite simple, because I need, in fact, to have something that changes, and which in this case will be my position attribute. And if I look at my position, Now I've got this vector that's going into there, which is giving me red, blue, green and blue. I can now get these different values which will correspond to a different color. Cool, right? And maybe I want to make that a little bit brighter. So I'm going to, I think I'll times that. In fact, let's make this first of all the frequency. Let's add some more frequency to this. I'll times that by 4. Okay, cool. So that's giving me a little bit more variation. And I'm going to make this a bit brighter, and I can do that by just simply multiplying the whole thing, and I'm going to multiply this by 4. Oh, what's happened? In fact, let's multiply it by 2 and we might be able to see a bit better. It's now gone grayscale. Why is that? The problem is this. Let's go back to where we were before. Okay, so this is a vector, and this part 2 is a vector. Great, everything's cool, and I'm getting all these. Let me put this through properly. I'm getting all these different numbers, right? Let me see if I'm getting something right there. But if I times this by the 2 that we had, now I'm going to be getting all of the same numbers. This is now a float value, right? And it's converted the whole thing into a float. And as you know, if you have the same RGB value is exactly the same, you're going to get a grayscale number. So, solution. The solution is that in reality, I've got a vector here. This is now been converted into a float because of this number. So I'm getting this kind of messed up typecast. I'm not getting an error here for some reason. Sometimes you might get an error come up on here. For some reason I'm not here, but it's still confusing. Solution is to change this side of my code into a vector data type. So I'm going to create vector, and I think I'll do this on the whole thing. Let's see how this goes. Oh, didn't work. What I do maybe need to do then is remove this here and tell this part here to be the vector. Let's have this times by 2. There we go. Okay, got it right this time. So because this part is already a vector, I don't need to change it. It's just this part here, and now this is a vector, and I can see now it's gone brighter. So originally it was here, and now it's gone brighter. I can also control that, I believe, by adding an extra parameter. And I just need to create a float value in here because it's already converting this float into a vector. It's kind of cool. And I'm going to create a brightness slider. Yeah, should we do that? Yeah, okay. I know you're saying yes, Ian, let's do that. Okay, and it's gone all the way to 0. Why? Because my brightness slider is at 0. Let's hit this button here. Come on, hallelujah. And now I can control the brightness. Remember also, I can go into my edit parameter interface, brightness here, and I'm going to maybe do this between 0 and 8, let's say. Now I've got a cool brightness slider, custom created, using the code, and no error messages. It all works perfectly. Fantastic. Okay, I think I got there in the end. Any questions, comments, or criticisms? Please feel free to write them below, and I will do my best to answer them if I can. Although this is an area which I do find a little bit confusing myself, I am gradually starting to get my tiny little brain around it. So you guys have a great day. Enjoy yourselves and be good. Okay, bye bye.